Alright, what's going on, guys? Hope you all are doing well. So, Halo Infinite came out a few days ago, and right out of the box, if you've never played this game, it can be a little bit difficult to understand exactly what's going on, and to really get a grip for this sort of style as an FPS. If you've played Halo in the past, then a lot of these are going to be pretty familiar to you, but even if you haven't played in a long time, that some of these will serve as a really good refresher, but will help you get more comfortable and suited to the game. Today, we're going to be looking at 10 very helpful tips and tricks, either for brand new players, for people who are jumping back into Halo, or anybody who just wants to step up their game a little bit in general in Halo Infinite, as the skill ceiling can be pretty high to somebody who's never really played this before. This is going to be a very easy to follow along list, and it will help improve your gameplay pretty dramatically if you apply these while you're playing Halo Infinite. So if you guys enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. If you're interested in more Halo content, of course, remember to subscribe if you are new to the channel as well. We're getting unbelievably close to 500,000. But anyways, that stuff out of the way, let's get into it. So coming today at the number 10 spot is using your AI to get a really good feel for the map and the equipment and weapons that surround it. Now, this can be done by using down on your controller if you're playing on that. If your input is a keyboard and mouse, it should be Z by default, and this will basically do a scan and show you like 3D models of where things are in the map. Now, obviously, this isn't going to scan enemies or call them out or anything, but it will give you a really good indicator of what's currently on the field, what people have picked up, and will give you actually a good sense when you think about it of where people are and are going. Now, I would say this is especially useful for newer players jumping into Infinite that are not yet familiar with the maps or even a lot of the weapons and how they function. This can help you get a handle on where things tend to spawn and how to control, like, you know, the certain power options of the map and everything like that. This has another function as well. If you're communicating with your teammates, you can actually use this to call out where things are. If your teammates don't have power weapons of their own, you can tell them exactly where to find them. It makes communication a whole lot easier and will make your pace of the match much smoother if utilized properly. But anyways, coming in at the number 9 spot is going to be how to begin and close fights. So the things you need to know about the materials in this game, or like actual types of weapons. Plasma weapons, for example, those based weapons will tear down shields unbelievably quickly, even faster than any bullet kind of weapon. But once shields are down, bullet weapons are going to kill faster. Also, electric based weapons, for example, will prevent shields from recharging, and the disruptor weapon even has an effect where it will linger and you can kill enemies just by walking away after shooting them about 3 times. But essentially, it's a really good idea to bring around a plasma and a kinetic weapon to start a battle by taking down their armor quickly and then finishing it off with your bullet weapon. That said, obviously, you can still kill completely with bullet weapons or even with plasma, but they're not going to be as effective if used completely on their own than if they were in conjunction with each other. So you need to know like approximately what health your enemy's at and whether they have a shield on or not, depending on what you should use. This also goes for grenades you might be throwing as well. So tip number 8 is going to be a really good gunfight slash survivability tip that will help you win more engagements. And whether you're playing on controller or mouse and keyboard, this is applicable. On controller, you can slightly move your left stick back and forth as you're strafing in a gunfight, and this can be just enough to throw off your enemy's aim while still maintaining the aim on your own. A lot of what we'll just call left stick aiming is extremely effective in Halo, and you can do this on a keyboard as well by just getting like a really good A and D spam, and if you can get very effective with this, you're almost impossible to hit in close range gunfights. Sometimes you'll have engagements where somebody is absolutely beaming you with a BR and they're like nearly impossible to hit, but it seems like they land headshots every single time. They're most likely employing this strategy, and you can get really good at doing this little movement. So something I recommend, jumping into bots and just practicing that movement technique a little bit and then apply it in real games. Coming at the number 7 spot is utilizing your movement correctly or optimally. Now, in Halo Infinite, you can sprint, you can slide, but you can also do a variety of maneuvers and techniques to either chain these together or use these in a way that are somewhat unexpected. For example, you can jump and then immediately crouch in the air to queue up a slide as soon as you hit the ground. You get like a nice little boost of speed. This can be used to throw off enemies like tracking and where they think you're going to be and possibly aiming at. You can immediately come out of this slide jump and start jumping again for a little bit of a bunny hop effect, making you even harder to track. It's all about unpredictable movement, and if you're not doing the like stick strafed technique, this is another way to go about it. Now, Halo obviously hasn't always had slide, especially in the older games, but I think if you're not using it in Infinite, you're definitely doing it wrong because it's so incredibly effective. Also, one more thing to note with sliding, it does make your hitbox slightly lower, and this might be just enough because most people will have their aim for the most part on just like a horizontal plane as they're walking around. This can be enough to get under their initial aim and really start the gunfight from an advantaged position. Tip number 6 today is going to be understanding radar and map locations. This is a big thing, especially if playing ranked, because obviously you don't have access to radar, meaning you need to rely a little bit more on teammate communication and also relying on your own ears. But when you're playing just regular big team battle or typical quick play, you will have access to the radar, and this is like probably your best tool so that you know where to position if a gunfight does happen to come your way. One complaint I do have about Halo Infinite's radar, it doesn't seem like the range is far enough, like as far as distance goes, and I often find that obviously the people within my radar I can literally see or hear at that point. It doesn't give me really any additional information that I could have otherwise gathered on my own, but I feel like this might change. Otherwise, the radar is an unbelievably powerful tool you have to utilize. Tip number 5 is essentially the music of Halo. This is basically the bread and butter of every engagement. Escaping disadvantaged situations and pushing your advantage when possible is literally how you win games and how you do well in a nutshell. Grenades are probably the best example to point this out and how you utilize them. You can use nades to basically cut off a choke point and prevent an enemy from finishing you off if you're low HP, preventing a disadvantaged situation from getting any worse. You can also use your grenades to push an advantage if you've hit the enemy first and you push them into a corner. You can use it to finish off the gunfight. You can also simply use your movement to get out of a disadvantaged situation or even turn it around into where you now have the advantage as well. Sometimes the situation's so dire there's not much you can do, and you may as well try for the big heroic play. Even if you die, it's maybe not going to be the worst thing in the world. A lot of engagements in Halo, not just Infinite but in general, come down to risk assessment, and if you get really good at assessing risk, you'll have not only a really high KD, but you'll probably be winning a lot more games as well, assuming your teammates are sort of on the same page as you are. Number 4 is going to be something that's especially effective in ranked mode, although can be applied to literally anywhere you're playing Infinite. Now, honestly, in Halo, it's a very good idea to roll in pairs. The easiest way to die in this game is by lone wolfing it. Sometimes, obviously, that's your only option, that's all you can do, but if you tend to roll with a pair or have somebody nearby, honestly, if you barely win a gunfight or if you happen to lose one, your teammate can pick up the trade, and the more coordination you have with another teammate to focus fire on a specific target, the more likely you are to win and come away with these gunfights. Moving around with a pair also forces you to be very communicative and at least kind of telegraph what you're going to try and do and work well with a teammate, and the best synergy you have with that other pair, the better. Also, rolling in pairs doesn't mean you just need to run side by side in literally every single match, but it's basically you watch each other's flank, you can watch each other's back, and you're essentially in a situation where all your blind spots are covered by your teammate and you're covering all your teammates' blind spots. It pretty much makes you an unstoppable force. Coming today at the number 3 spot is paying attention to the kill feed, and this is seeing exactly who's died and who is up, especially useful for ranked, not only in terms of knowing how many people are on the field at one time, but also who is on the field. Sometimes it's a big ask to know exactly who is who and like memorize the names of the enemies you're playing against, but especially in ranked, you can use this to specify exactly what plays to make, and I think this is what separates like really top level players from even like high level or medium players. There's a level of control that you and your team can exhibit when you know exactly who is up and when they're going to be respawning approximately, and also where. Just this level of in-game awareness is like literally the most practical way in order to bring that into fruition. I mean, today at the number 2 spot has a lot to do with your settings and specifically the sensitivity you play on. Now, you can adapt to any sensitivity you want to run in Halo, and specifically on controller. This method has worked for literal decades, and this is basically called the Ogre Twitch. You just flick your stick in a circular motion. I recommend doing this in a custom game or a bot lobby, and all you're doing is calibrating your sensitivity to your brain. A lot of times it's possible in Halo that you're playing on a bit of a higher sensitivity than you possibly should be, or maybe your sensitivity is even a little bit too low and you need to be a bit more agile and mobile, and doing the Ogre Twitch method is probably the best way of learning it quickly. Otherwise, you can just go grind in-game hours, and then a lot of experience will help calibrate you to that sensitivity as well, but there is a way to speed up the process by literally just like muscle memory grinding. It's going to take about a day or two if you're going to be learning a new sensitivity and to even get comfortable with it, but this is a very streamlined method in approaching it. Now, finally, guys, coming in at the number 1 spot is going to be playing on a controller layout or a grip method that allows you to jump without taking your fingers off the sticks. If you're playing on controller, it is. On PC, it doesn't really matter, as you'll be most likely using the spacebar to jump, but if you're on a controller, especially in Halo, it's really important to have the ability to jump and also even slide around without your thumb leaving the stick. You can do this in a variety of methods, first of which being remapping your jump function to some other button like possibly R, or even if you're playing on a SCUF controller, you can remap the paddles to be your jump button, or if not, you can do what I do. I play claw grip, which means my index finger goes over the face buttons and I shoot with my middle finger. It's a little bit of a stretch depending on what controller you're on, but I've done this for like over a decade and my fingers have gotten used to it at this point, but it's something that will definitely help improve your game almost immediately. Your shot might be trash for 2 weeks as you're getting used to claw grip, if that's the way you're you're going, but it will end up being worth it at the end of the day. So take note of the fact that these tips and tricks were meant to get people started into the game and enjoying Halo and really hopefully get their feet wet in this style of like arena shooter. But if you guys want to see a little bit more of an in-depth top 10 like tips to help, some really advanced stuff, we can definitely do that. And if you would like to see it, then be sure to drop a thumbs up on the video. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure to subscribe. And I also do stream over on Twitch if you don't follow me. Link to that is in the description. I would love to see you over there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video today. Thank you very much for your time once again, and I will see you all in the next video. Take it easy and peace out.